So I did just switch to chaos. Well, you know, working for a family's a pain in the ass. Plus, they got way better union
didn't
benefits.
see you
than-
there.
Hey.
Well, we should probably get back to smiting
Yeah,
each
I'm on
other.
the clock too. All right. My 50th birthday came and went, uneventful, but I had an awesome time with the family. I got a bunch of art equipment. They bought me a badass art set and a huge sketch pad. So I'm going to start doing. My hand's starting to work again, so I think I'm ready to start drawing again. As you can see in this video, I'm doing some painting. It's not quite 100%, but it's good enough where I can hold a pen. So we're going to get back after it. I'm going to have to take a break for a day or two from working out. I've been doing 2-a-days with the kids, so I've been boxing at the gym with the kids and coming home and trying to weight lift. And my aim is to compete late in a few months, and I'm kind of burning myself out by doing too much cardio, if that makes sense. So the more I focus on boxing, which is fine, I mean, I need the practice, I need the work, but if I'm trying to get ready to compete for powerlifting, you can't serve two masters at the same time. It just doesn't work, and I'm losing strength. I was trying to bench press 315 pounds today, and I was struggling with sets of 2. And normally that's something I can hit, 7-8 reps easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but I can get 7 or 8 reps. And we have days like that. I mean, strength isn't linear. You're not going to always be your strongest every single day. I know there's people on YouTube that think, like, if you have one bad day, there's look what happened to him. He's lost all his strength. Yesterday he was benching 300 for 8. Today he can only do 2. So, we're going to have bad days. But I'm noticeably weaker than I normally am. And I've lost, I'm trying to lose weight, so that's good. But you don't want to, cut weight super quick and cause a bunch of, catabolic effects to where it eats all your muscle mass. There's a smart way to do it. So I think I'm going to rest for a couple of days. That being said, I'm having a blast, man. I feel like a kid again, training with the kids. I'm just having a blast. What is wrong with people my age? Man, I was at the gym, and a couple of older guys came in, about my age, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little younger, I don't know. And we introduced each other, and I thought they were going to train. They were there with their kids. And the kids get in the ring, and they're getting ready. They're warming up. And then my kids get their stuff on, and we're talking. And then I'm putting hand wraps on. And the guy's like, "What are you doing?" Like, "I don't know. I'm training. What are you doing?" It's like, "I'm just here with my son." So I think I think they were a little concerned because when we were pairing up for sparring, we do light touch drills. I think they were like, "They're not going to put this ogre against my 13 and 14-year-old, are they?" Well, first of all, Dad, your 13 or 14-year-old could probably whip my ass. But no. No, they're not. He's not going to pair me up with your kid. We had a good laugh about that. No, I'm working one-on-one with the trainer. I'm not ready for that yet. If anything, what tends to happen is the young kids, they see a dude like me and they think, oh, one of two things. They're either scared or they're like, challenge. And then I got a Tasmanian devil that's trying to kill me. I'm like, whoa, tone it down, kid. I'm just trying to get work done. You know what I mean? I'm a beginner at this stuff. I don't know. I got a pretty mean left. So, So in this video, I spent most of the day with my son. I'm teaching him how to use the airbrush. We're painting figurines. And then later on in the video, we do a little one-on-one boxing training together. I had a good time. I don't get to spend days like this with him too often, just because of work and all the stuff that goes on. So when these days do come around, it's really nice. I get a lot more time with my daughter, which is kind of unfair to him. I thought I would mention, so I posted a short on my 50th birthday, and I was kind of complaining a little bit about, family not remembering my birthday. And I wound up deleting that because, one, people that are doing better than you don't want to hear complaining, and people that are doing worse than you, it comes off really you see this guy, and if you're aspiring to be like somebody, you don't want to hear that guy bitching and moaning. It's like, You know, I don't know. It's just unbecoming. It doesn't work in any scenario, and nobody wants to hear it. But I did want to give a little context because it made it sound like, maybe my immediate family. And like, I had a great birthday. My wife, kids, grandma, we all went out to dinner. It was a good time. What I was kind of bummed out about is the family I grew up with. My mom, my dad, my sisters, with the exception of Shannon, we're kind of estranged. Now, with the sister I was closest with growing up, her and I were super, super close for years and years and years. And somewhere we divided politically, and she is a staunch leftist, like far, far, far extremist leftist, but kind of like the champagne socialists. They're rich, they don't want for anything, they don't have to work, they've got all the money in the world, and they grow up in these upper class, gated community, and they probably sit around with all the other wives and talk about how they'd fix the world's problems if they were in charge, and they're very insufferable, Trump derangement syndrome, that kind of thing. Now, when we separated, I don't even know if I was a Trump supporter, but I think she was with that. She put anybody that was slightly left of center were all far right extremists, that kind of thing. And I had mentioned, I don't know, my nephew is trans, and I called her by his name, and she lost her mind, and it's just like, I don't know, we should just stop talking to me. And me being super sarcastic, I wouldn't really hold my tongue with her, but there was never a time where, like, I think there's problems on both sides of the aisle, but the one thing I've observed is there was never a time where I wouldn't talk to her. You know what I mean? Like, I'll still talk to them. They won't talk to me. And that's just stupid. It's just stupid, in my opinion. I mean, like, to only just have relationships with people that agree with you 100%, I just don't understand that. Because how would you get along in this world? There's so many different cultures, so many different races, if you will. There's so many different perspectives, so many different lived experiences. How could we all possibly agree on everything? It's like we don't know enough about the world to know all the answers. So, and those guys tend to come from a really, I don't know, egotistical, like sanctimonious perspective of knowing everything about the world. And if the people just listen to me, like everything would be right as rain. You can't even manage your own family, and yet you're going to save the world. It's like, I'm the kind of guy that's like, I know I'm a mess. I know I'm a moron. Like, I can barely tie my own shoes. How am I going to fix the world? Like, I'm busy trying to just make sure my family's taken care of. And that's usually why I say you should start from the bottom and work your way up. Like Jordan Peterson would say, clean your room. You know what he's saying? You know what he's saying that? Everybody makes fun of him because he's like, that's stupid. What's cleaning your room going to do? Well, it's kind of proven that if your space is a mess, it can affect you mentally. And what he was saying is if you just kind of clean your shit up, you might feel better about yourself, and then you might start doing things that are on that list you got to check off, and then one good thing could lead to another, and it could snowball into positive action. That's the whole point of that. But he's also saying is quit worrying about what the world's doing and fix your own problems first. I don't know. It seems pretty simple to me. But then now my sister lived with us for 3 years. Now she lives off the state. She's never had a job. She's completely disabled. They say she's unable to work. I say that she's sandbagging a lot, but she had some serious disabilities, and she lived with us, and it was really hard. It was a hard 3 years, and we went so far as to even try to get her own place, and at the end, it really fell apart. My sister, my middle sister, got involved, and she wound up calling the police on us, saying that we were holding her stuff, and it just got stupid. And that was the last time I talked to any of them. And my sister has tried reaching out to me, but I haven't forgiven her for trying to involve the police. You know what I mean? Like when we killed ourselves to provide for her. And all we really wanted to do was just try to teach her to take care of herself and then get on our own to become independent. But she saw us as being mean, like forcing her to do chores, things of that nature. And I would say at times, yeah, tempers got a little out of hand, and maybe there was some verbal abuse. People aren't at their best all the times, and I'm sure that there was times where we said some nasty things, and how family argues. But is that abusive, or is that just people being people? Well, in that whole thing, my parents got involved, and my mom's super opinionated, and and she thinks that we should have supported my sister. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not a daycare. I'm not a retirement home. I want her to get out on her own. And we had disagreements about that. And it kind of came to light that my parents never ever call me. I always call them, and that's been that way for years. So, and I have a therapist that I talk to, and my therapist said, maybe it's time for you to set some boundaries and stop calling them. If they want you in your life, in their lives, they'll reach out to you. So I took his advice, and I haven't talked to them since. They have not reached out to me once. They don't care about their grandkids, and that makes me really sad. That's the biggest thing is my kids ask about grandma and grandpa all the time. And I tell them straight up, I'm like, well, they don't want us in their lives. They don't. If they did, that they would reach out. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't question if I'm doing the right thing or not. Like it hurts. It really hurts. I'm sharing with you some really personal stuff. Like this is like big for me. This is a huge hole in my heart, and it's something that I don't know what the right course of action is, and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But I'm acting in good faith, and I'm trying to do what I think is right. And what I think is right is I had to set some healthy boundaries because we were suffering from emotional and verbal abuse. And, I had to set that boundary and stand up for my family. And it saddens me that I was forced to pick, one over the other. You shouldn't be that way. But you know what, it is what it is. And, I that little video I was complaining of, that's kind of what I was lamenting about, just so you know. That's just some context. But there's no place on YouTube for that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what the spirit of this channel is all about. I'm human. I don't know. Sometimes I don't have a sounding board or someone to talk to, and every once in a while it leaks out on my videos. I have it way better than a guy like me deserves. I'm going to tell you right now, with all the stuff I've screwed up and all the mistakes I've made and all the dumb shit I've done, I do not deserve to have the life that I have. And I'm blessed beyond measure. I've got everything a guy could possibly want and more. I have so much crap I don't know what to do with it. I'm not really a materialistic person, so I'm not into, name brand clothes and watches and all that stuff. Not to say I don't like a nice timepiece, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not my driving motivation. Like, what kind of car I have in the driveway is not... I don't like to flex on YouTube, like, hey, check out all the little flashing dollar bills and whatever. To me, that's just stupid. I never understood that. To me, a rich life is that of experience. What are you doing? What can you do? Are you able to do the things you love? Are you surrounded by people that want you to be around them? And I am. I'm surrounded by nothing but love, support. I'm fully ambulatory, and even though I do have some physical limitations that pop up here and there, or we work around them, and I think for a guy my age, I'm pretty much kicking ass and taking names. So for me to get on YouTube and even think about crying about it, it's just, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, focus on the good stuff, because there is way, way, way more abundance than there is problems. But, the problems I do have, it is still like, it's family. It gnaws at you a little, because you want to... I really think I'm a good person, and I want to do the right thing, I'm not doing anything with the intention of being harmful. I'm doing what I think is supposed to be right, and I question that every day, because this one, it feels like... So I really want to reach out. I want to be the one that reaches out and bridges the gap and says, I'm sorry. And I know if I do that, if I pick up the phone right now and I call them and say, I'm sorry, they'll be totally receptive to that and it'll be water under the bridge. But I guarantee you, it'll still only be one way. They will only maintain the relationship if I'm the one calling. They will not call me back. They will not make any effort to come out and see their grandkids. They'll send a couple $100 on Christmas, and that is the most interaction that I'm going to expect from them. I think the last straw was during... COVID. I was going to bring the family home to visit them. My parents said that they were afraid of getting sick, so we respected that. And a month later, I saw on Facebook that my sister and her kids and her husband were over there eating dinner. And I was just like, wow, I didn't show my kids that. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, apparently they're fine. They're clean. We must be dirty. Like, I don't know. But that's kind of, hey, I'm sure all you guys, we all have family problems. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have something, like some crazy drunk uncle or some drug addict aunt, or some people have violent criminals or abusive relationships. Like, I can say that there's never been anything like that. This house is love. It's love. We bicker, we argue a lot. God, we argue a lot. Jesus. But you know what? It's love. This house is love. And you feel love. I mean, we have a house chicken, for Christ's sake. She's in there on the couch right now, just chilling. What I wanted to talk about in this video is cancel culture. Ooh. For years. I want to say since right around 26, since Trump got elected, frankly, the left has been canceling people for the wrong opinions. And they eat their own. Oh, Lord have mercy. You know what happens. You say something that somebody doesn't like on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. You get called out by the mob, and then if you apologize for it, you see time and time again, we see people get fired. They lose their channels. They get blocked, just for simple things like who was it? The Blizzard guy. I forgot his name, but he got fired because he donated. They found out he donated $10,000 for a Trump banner. Now, look, that blows me away. It's like you can't even support somebody. You're not even allowed to have an opinion. Now, I can see, getting canceled for being openly racist or calling for violence, things of that nature. But just because you support a candidate they don't like, or you happen to be a conservative, he got fired for that? And that was, legitimately the reason he got fired, too. They didn't, make something up. They basically got rid of him. They said it was problematic because he supported the wrong candidate. To me, that's crazy, but time and time again, we've seen it, and we've called it out for years. Well, now, the pendulum's starting to swing, as I've been saying it's going to happen for quite some time. It always does. It might take a while, but the pendulum always swings. And now, because of this assassination attempt, people are getting canceled. They've been in a cushion for so long. They've been in a bubble, and they felt so safe that when they come out and say things like, "Oh, I hope they don't miss the next time." Jack Black, what was it? Tenacious D. I forgot what his buddy's name is. He came out on stage and said, "What do you wish for? I hope that they don't miss the next time." Now the tour has been canceled, and Jack Black wouldn't even stand up for his buddy. It shows you what a true stand-up tough guy, the left is. They're always talking about how virtuous they are, and they won't even stand up for their own. Because the mob's going to come after them too, and they know it. Now, what are they calling for? They're calling for cooler heads to prevail. They're saying, well, now that you guys have the power, you're sure you just can't wait to use it. And they're trying to use that tactics. How do I feel about the whole thing? Well, I don't think anybody should be canceled for having an opinion. Even if it's a shitty one. Even if you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think of let's just say you're racist. Okay, you're allowed to be. We don't have to talk to you. We don't have to like you. But there is nothing illegal about it. Or say you don't like, political parties is a good example. I am obviously, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but let's just say I'm one or the other. There's nothing illegal about that. Or there's nothing illegal about saying, I want border security. They're saying that that's racist. You don't want other people to come into this country. And it's no, you can give that's the gaslighting they like to do, though. You can give a lot of logical reasons as to why having no border security is horrible, especially when there's a bunch of countries around the world that want us dead and are willing to send, terrorists via open borders and things of that nature. And there's a bunch of Chinese people coming in right now. And there's people at the border reporting on this, but you'll never see it in mainstream news. But do me a favor, go online and look up China border security. Just type those words in Google and see what comes up. And read some of those articles. And then come back and report to me. Tell me what you found. and read them. Don't do that title skimming nonsense. Really read them and see what's going on. You're going to find that there's a lot of military-aged men, and they're not with families. They are not dissidents. There's a lot of weird stuff going on at the border right now, and it should be really alarming to both sides. But what the left is trying to do is they're basically importing votes, because what they're doing is all these people that are coming across the border, they're immediately registering them to vote. And of course you have the right of saying, well, that's why we want voter ID. And what does the left say? That's racist. And you're canceling people for that. You're racist. Well, that's the thing they like to throw around. I don't see an issue with any of those opinions. Even the ones I disagree with. There is nothing wrong with having your own opinion. You are allowed to believe whatever you want to believe, whether I like it or not. In fact, we should encourage these people to come out and spout their horrible ideas. Why? Because then we can mock and ridicule them and show their ideas for what they are. And then when enough people have mocked and ridiculed these ideas, it what? Disappears. It fades into obscurity. But now, what happens? Since we're canceling these people, since we're silencing them, they become even more empowered to form the little groups on their little corners of the internet, which fester and grow into these extremists. Now you're creating the very problem that you're trying to eliminate by canceling them, by stifling them. More than that, what they've done is they've created this huge bubble where they think everybody agrees with them. They really think that if you're even slightly right of center, you're an extremist. Why? Because nobody shares those opinions online. Nobody talks about it. So in their little bubbles, all they talk to are people that 100% agree with them. Half the country is kind of sat there and just kind of like, what's status? Yeah, I disagree with that, but I'm not getting involved. And we didn't. We're like that. That's one of the hallmarks of being a conservative is a lot of us don't like direct confrontation. So we won't get involved. We won't say anything. We might come, when we do, they come down pretty hard on us. So, yeah, I mean, conservatives have been kind of closeted the last 5 or 6 years. Well, now the pendulum's swinging the other way, and they're asking us to use restraint. I don't want to see anybody get canceled, but at the same time, I think it's kind of nonsensical for them to want us to show restraint when they have absolutely been gleeful up to the point of suffering the consequences of their own actions. It's like, I don't know what you expected to happen. It just blows my mind that they're calling for us to, show some kind of mercy or clemency when they've been, totally unwilling to, show the same courtesy. I just don't know. I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know. Now, here's what I'll say. Like, I think it's, I'm not willing to give them any kind of forgiveness or room. Like, they need to be called out for their crappy behavior, and I'm going to do so at every point that I can. But I will say there's a good opportunity here. It's one thing to call somebody out and let them know what an ass they've been, but it's another thing to, actually do physical damage, like try to get them fired or somehow affect their lives, like dox them or whatever. All the crappy behavior that they've done the last 5 years to us. No, this is an opportunity for us to be able to sit down and talk and actually bridge the gap. When people are in power, you get to see how they truly are. When they have the levers of power, when they have the popular culture behind them, people, when they say punching up, it's okay to punch up if you're being racist, like to white people. The idea that they think it's okay to punch up tells you what that person's really all about. They're about resentment, they're about jealousy, and they're about hatred. I guess what I'm saying is, like, we can call them out, we can hold them accountable, but what we really should do is try to have conversations. Because, like, what I've been telling all the people that I don't agree with and don't agree with me, you and I have a lot more in common than we have differences. And if we actually sat down and compared lives and went through our daily routines and talked about the jobs we do and the families we lived with, you find that we got a lot in common. I think this is an opportunity for everybody to find common ground. This is a galvanizing thing that happened. Donald Trump. I don't know if you saw his last Republican National Committee meeting, but they're fired up. Here's one thing I never understood, and this is where I get worried on both sides of the aisle. When you get groups of people together and you see this mob mentality, I've never been part of that. I would sit there in a crowd and just kind of look around and go, what the hell? Do these people not think for themselves? And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with who's speaking, but you see people in the crowd, they're crying and they're cheering and they're like almost begging for the emperor to touch their hands, and you're like, what the? He's just a dude. This is what I think the president's good for. A presidential leader is good for showing the strength of a nation, for putting our best foot forward, for, foreign affairs, that kind of thing. He's good for addressing the country and getting our problems out there and unifying people. That's where the president can have good power. But at the end of the day, he's just a figurehead. He's a representative. He's no different than you or I. How it's supposed to work is you and I are supposed to have the power, and we're supposed to make the decisions. The government's supposed to represent the people. I don't see this savior God thing that I keep seeing on TV when these groups of people get together and they're having moments of catharsis when their favorite hero gets up on stage and starts talking. That's populism. And I don't understand the psychology behind it. I don't understand how you can get lost in a crowd. My cat. What'd you find there, buddy? Holy crap. She got a bird. Jesus. What do you got there? Oh, don't bring that in the house. Time out. Man, I like it when my cats catch mice, but it bums me out when they catch birds. I mean, think about it. We have a dove in the house. Oh, it's still alive. Hold on. I hope she's going to be okay. I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put her in the bird cage in the house. But she's so small. It's okay, sweetheart. You're scared. She's so small. Hold on, let me take care of this. Not really sure what the right thing to do is in this situation. You let nature take its course. I mean, cats kill birds. She's probably out there trying to hunt another one. But at the same time, I'm not going to let her rip apart a bird in my garage. It's kind of antithetical to what we're doing around this house. My dog caught a dove, and it's in the house now. It's been convalescing for a week. The kids have named it Freedom. He bit down on her pretty bad. He kept impressive dog, man. Caught this bird midair, messed its wing and its tail up. Wife said, "Drop it." Dog spit it out. And it was just laying there flat. So they brought it in and nursed it back to health, and it's almost ready to be released. And I mean, you can't. I don't know. I have a soft spot for animals. I don't know what to tell you. I always have. And I really like birds for some reason. I don't know. So let's talk about it. Politics. Am I conservative? I don't think so. I'll tell you what. This is where I fall. For the longest time, I would consider myself a libertarian. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Bill of Rights, and I believe in the rights that weren't enumerated by the Constitution. They originally had an argument over that. They didn't want to include a Bill of Rights because they thought that would limit the rights that were enumerated, right? So they added revisions to the Constitution to cover the ones that weren't listed. But really, what does the Constitution do? It protects the states' rights from a powerful federal government. So the states pretty much have the rights to do whatever they want. Originally, this is really dumbing it down and simplifying it for those of you youngsters that haven't studied this stuff. Essentially, the states were originally envisioned as their own kind of countries, if you will. Like, they could basically have the rights to do whatever they want, and a lot of them do. California would be a good example. So, a lot of people will say things like, that's unconstitutional, they can't do that. Well, again, a lot of times they can. But where we have a freedom is we can go wherever we want, so we we can move to states with like-minded people, and that's kind of what you've seen over the years. Is the red and blue areas have kind of divided, and you see a lot of blue in the large metropolitan areas and a lot of red in the rural industrial areas. And honestly, I think that the Constitution should protect states like California from being able to run over its population and do what it is doing. But essentially, like, the people that have lived there have had the freedom to vote with however they wanted, and over the years they have pretty much gotten exactly what they've asked for. I lived in California when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I saw the writing on the wall when the house I was living in bumped up to $350,000, and it was like, I don't know, 1,600 square foot house that was built in the 70s with aluminum wiring, and it was in a kind of a rough neighborhood in Escondido, and I was like, man, really, that was right before the housing crash a couple years before. So I moved to Vegas, where without changing a single thing, the amount of money I was making, the amount of work I was doing, my quality of life went up like 10 times. Like, all of a sudden, the money I was making, I could live off of by myself, and I was able to afford all my bills. Where in California, I had to have 2 roommates, and we lived in a crappy 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom in the middle, and had no air conditioning. Now, granted, it was on the beach, and we were paying for that, but I think and this was back in 2003. I want to say I was paying like $1,700, somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700 a month for that crap hole, and that was back in '03. So I can't even imagine what that's going for now. But yeah, you have autonomy. You can go wherever you want. So we always look. The reason I picked Vegas is because even though it was democratically governed, I liked the Constitution. I liked the fact that we could open carry, because I'm a huge Second Amendment supporter. I like the fact that it didn't have state taxes, so I didn't have to waste a bunch of money like California. California, they were trying to charge me money after I left. Like 10 years after I left, they were saying I owed them money. Matter of fact, they put a lien on them. I couldn't buy a house until they extorted me for $3,000. I could have taken them to court, but it would have taken years. So I wound up just paying for it. They had a tax lien on me. Man, California's something else. But yeah, so when it comes to our rights, I'm very much conservative. I would say I'm a traditional family guy. I think, I think that marriage is, marriage is sacred. I don't think that the government should have any say whatsoever on who you are allowed to marry, what male, female, goat. That is none of the government's business. I don't think that the government should have any say over a woman's rights with her body. Now, I'm against abortion personally. I was adopted. My sisters were adopted. We could have easily been aborted. So I have my viewpoints on that. Those are my opinions. But I also don't believe that the government has any right getting involved in that whatsoever. Which is why I was glad to see Roe versus Wade get dissolved, because that's basically the government stepping out of it and giving the rights back to the states where it belongs. But of course they spun it as like, the end of women's rights or whatever. Like, it's just nonsense. I mean, most of the people that were against Roe versus Wade being dissolved don't even know what they don't even know what the hell Roe versus Wade was. But abortion's one of those sticky ones where people get heated over it, and I like to, I don't want to really go there. But what I'm basically saying is you can be against something and still not be for the government telling you you have to or you can't, if that makes sense. So basically, I'm a very small government, like, individual rights type guy. But I would say that I'm also very socially liberal, because I don't really care about same-sex marriage. I don't care about people being gay or trans or any of that. Now you say, well, you sure talk about it a lot for someone who's not against it. Like, you sure sound like you are. No, what I'm against is you telling me I have to take a cause up and you jamming it down my throat every chance you get. And I'm against every freaking piece of media that I consume being about that. That's what I'm against. I'm against it being taught in schools. I'm against the propaganda that's forced down our kids' throat. That's the stuff I'm against. But as far as like your personal choices, no. I mean, I'm right there with you, brother. You know what I mean, or sister, whatever you are. I'm all for your personal rights. Just, keep me out of it. I don't care. What you do with your life's none of my business. My life's none of your business, and your life's not my fault, basically. Well, then you could say, well, okay, all that's conservative stuff. Where are you liberal? I kind of believe in a social safety net. Like, I don't have a problem with things like welfare. I would say Planned Parenthood in spirit, even though we all know that they have what they're all really about. But in spirit, I think that would be a good thing. I think that we have a duty to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. I like the idea of Social Security or some kind of a retirement plan for the elderly. Now, Social Security, I think, was probably a bad idea to begin with, but now that we have it and it's been established and people are living off of it, I think it would be a bad idea to just dissolve it. Like, a lot of people say we should just get rid of it and rip the Band-Aid off. It's unconstitutional. So in a lot of ways, like when it comes to like social safety nets, taking care of people that can't take care of themselves, I think that, a society like ours that lives in such abundance can share some of that abundance to make sure people are taken care of. So that would be considered a very liberal idea. But I'm also against income tax. I don't think I should owe you money because I decide to go to work. Like, I think that's stupid. I'm definitely against all the alphabet, like the FBI, the ATF, anything that, those are totally unconstitutional. I'd love to see those get dissolved. I'm very much for police, but I hate it when they're used to extort money out of, hardworking taxpayers, i.e. traffic cops. I don't, all they're trying to do is raise revenue for the state, and I hate that. And it's easy to say, well, you're anti-police. No, I'm not. I'm happy to give some of my money to make sure that they're watching out for our backs and keeping crime down. Like, I'm all for that. Absolutely, 100%. But I also believe in personal responsibility. I think if somebody's trying to kick your door down and take advantage of you or your loved ones, by the time you call them up, you're going to be long dead. So I also believe that everybody should be armed and everybody should practice using those arms, if you will. You know what I mean? Train. Don't just buy a gun. Train with it. Be proficient. No, I think that we should have that responsibility, and we should also look after our neighbors and things like neighborhood watch and community get-togethers. I'm all for that. I think that we should have the right to defend ourselves. I think that we should have a strong police force that's trying to eradicate crime. I think that we should be involved at local government levels and school boards, and we should have control over what the teachers are teaching. None of that should be under federal control. I believe very much in bottom-up governing, not top-down, because there's just no way some asshole that lives 1,000 miles from you could possibly know what your needs are. But your local representative probably has a pretty good idea. Or a hell of a lot better than, some douchebag that's in the Senate. I don't know. Does that make me conservative? Does it make me a liberal? I'm just like a live and let live kind of guy, I would like to see us all come together because I think, we've gotten too ideologically possessed and separated. And like I keep saying, we have a lot more in common than we do different. The average citizen, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or whatever, independent, most of us, the majority of us, get up every day and we go to work and we try to support families and we're doing all that. And if we would focus a little bit more on what we have in common and a little bit less on what our differences are, I think we'd find that we're pretty much aligned on most things. I don't know, what's your experience when you're interacting with people in your everyday life, not online, not Twitter, not Facebook, not YouTube, but in your life, when you're just talking to people? Do you find a lot of conflict, or do you find that you guys are able to have, meaningful, normal relationships? I don't know. Let me know what you think. I rambled on long enough. This video is getting kind of preachy, so I think I'm going to call it a day. But, drop me some comments. Let me know what you think. I love you guys, and as always, I'll see you on the battlefield.